did all kinds of crazy, you could say dangerous, inappropriate things with me. That sounds strange.
How to be an elder. This is what we're going to talk about today. Michael is going to share with us 10 ways to be an elder. If you've seen the previous broadcasts, we talked about the importance of being an elder in this day and age. One of the ways with the most leverage of reinventing, redesigning relationships, and of the essence for a young man to receive or to be in the presence of elders in his life, but also for a man to grow in his masculinity, to become or to show up as an elder for someone else. We talked about the difficulties of taking up that role because we don't have a culture of eldership. We also talked yesterday about who to be an elder for. Today we're going to go in more detail about how you can show up as an elder for someone else. So, Michael prepared 10 points.
Yeah, well, let's start with what is an elder, and I would say that it's a role. It's a role that it could be masculine or feminine, right? It could be male or female, but you're essentially playing something similar to the role of a parent, but for those who are not your children. So you are taking on that responsibility of raising them up or calling them into a next level of responsibility, calling them into adulthood, and you're taking on that, you're shouldering that burden.
To parent someone who's not your child.
Could be. I don't want to limit it to parenting, and I think there's ways that it's actually not. It's something more, something beyond parenting. But yeah, and so yesterday we were talking about different examples of being an elder. How someone could be an elder, or who they could be an elder to.
Who they could be an elder for. Yes.
One of the things that we mentioned was, you can do this also for a woman, and you can do this for, we mentioned yesterday that a great opportunity to be an elder in a way that makes a difference in the world is in the moment of conflict to choose to be the one to, as you say, lead the relationship to glory, or to choose to be the one to lead, to shoulder that responsibility. And so there have been quite a number of girlfriends in my past who, at the point of the breakup, if I can see a pathway for her that if I just break up, maybe how I feel like breaking up, how that's going to lead her down a painful path or a difficult path. And in that moment, I choose to shift my role, and view her perhaps more as my younger sister, or you could say like spiritual sister, and I'm gonna lead, and I'm gonna lead her to a more beautiful place.
I like the shouldering of responsibility. It's a good phrase.
Yes. So there's this choosing to take on being an elder and growing in this can really develop your leadership ability, can give you great meaning and purpose in life beyond the happiness and success that you're going for, and happiness, success, and freedom that you may be aiming for personally. A lot of people who are aiming for happiness and success and freedom have a deep, unmet longing, purposelessness, lack of fulfillment, and it is to be found in taking on a greater responsibility I would say, especially when it goes beyond what you need to do. Like,
which would be your children.
My nephews are not my responsibility. I could say, you know. The boy next door, he's not my responsibility. If I'm dating someone who has kids, like, they're not my responsibility. But to be an elder is to think about your future generations, is to think about all your people, is to say, you know, I'm going to be a leader of more people than...
What you were saying, there's great joy and honor in that, which is something that a lot of people are lacking and don't know that they're lacking, and maybe only find out when they're completely successful in everything they thought they needed to be, and then discover, but something is still not here. You know, this meaning, this honor, this playing a part.
And this really lies in the dimension of the gift, you know. There's wealth that you can create by working hard, by charging money for what you do, and that's a great thing. But there's wealth that many of us never reclaim, and we live a lot more unfulfilled than we could be, because this other kind of wealth is generated by giving and receiving, and being an elder lies in that realm of giving.
Yes, because you don't have to do it; you still show up as it. So it's really is a gift.
And honor itself, you know, having an abundance of this deep, abiding meaning in your life, and purpose in your life, and inner guidance in your life. This is, it's something that's given and receiving. So how to be an elder?
How to be an elder. Point 1. I'll keep track of and make sure we end up with 10 points.
This isn't some official presentation I've put together. There's a few notes I jotted down.
This is the definitive.
Before our call this morning.
Etched in stone. The Ten Commandments on being an elder.
I've just come down from the mountaintop. God touched the stones, and number 1.
Imagine that like you come down and you have a remark and you go, okay, I got to make an adjustment here.
So the first point I would make is be an ancestor worth coming from. You know, so be the kind of man who your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, future generations are going to tell stories about. You know, who your sons, grandsons, you know, other men are going to want to emulate, step into your shoes. And, well, how do you do that? I think one very key component is to be a man worthy of respect. How do you be a man worthy of respect? First, respect yourself at a high level. That is, don't let others disrespect you. Stand up for yourself, speak up for yourself, walk your own path. So this is a very big component, because as an elder, part of what you're doing is helping a younger man to shoulder more responsibility himself and come into adulthood. And if he looks at you and he has no respect for you, you're going to have no influence with him. He's not going to want to listen to you. You know, who are you to tell me who to be, right? So, as well, to be that man worthy of respect, I would say be a man worthy of honor, worthy of honoring by your people. And I think that's a matter of like standing up for your people, defending your people, having the back of your people, be willing to go to battle for your people. And
well, then we come back to the question, like, who are your people? And there might be a whole issue in itself, and also at the core of why it's so hard to be an elder. So,
well, I would say that doesn't need to matter so much. Like, give a fuck. Stand up for some people. You could choose. You could say the homeless are my people. You know, you could say all the people with my last name are my people. You could say all the people of my ethnicity are my people, of my nation are my people, all the Marines in my battalion, they're my people. It doesn't matter. Take on responsibility for people beyond you.
So be an ancestor worth coming from. That's one.
Yes. And we could go deeper into that. We don't need to spend too much time on that.
We're gonna have 10 next episodes going deeper into each one of them. I
Right.
think that would be interesting.
Right.
But I would like to see this list. This is great.
Yes.
2.
Okay, so honor thy elders. Restore this lineage of honor that's been broken, that's been lost. And if you are not honoring your elders, like actively going out of your way to honor your elders on a regular basis, you're breaking this lineage. And this is a powerful lineage. This is a powerful thing. If you don't speak well of those who've gone before you, those who've paved the way, those who've given to you, those who've come back for you, then what's happening is you're actually going to feel the call less to be an elder. Because what happens as you honor elders is you feel honor.
Yes.
You feel honor. And we can talk about the art of honoring another time, but the two big components are getting present to what someone is facing and what someone is standing for. And this is what generates the feeling of honor. So as you do this, as you get present to that, then when you come up against similar things in your life, you're facing similar things, what tends to happen is you feel an inspiration to stand as they stood.
Yes.
So that honoring your elders is going to give you a calling to be an elder. It's going to have you feel a calling to be an elder.
But what I see in it is that what you're doing is to cultivate eldership, whatever is there, and you speak to the culture of eldership that has been there, and so it's easier then also to be part of that, to show up that way, to feel that calling as well.
No, it's as if you played semi-pro football back in the day, right? You guys watching the games of generations past, and the great heroes, and telling their story, and remembering them before you go onto the field, and speaking of them at halftime or whatever. It's by telling these stories, by honoring these ancestors, the ones who went before, you feel like being that, and you also pass these stories on. You pass this lineage of honoring on to the ones who are coming next.
Nice.
Yes.
Honor thy elders.
So a next point.
3.
And these are not necessarily in any particular order. Show confidence and faith in the young man. So let's speak to young men in this conversation. But show confidence and faith in the young man. Assume that he has what it takes.
Yes.
He has what it takes, because what he may be facing is a doubt or lack of confidence. He may come from a household or from peers who judge him, who act as if he doesn't have what it takes. And a lot of times his parents may be the strongest source of giving him this sense that he doesn't have what it takes. No, he's not ready to leave home yet. No, he's not yet a man. He's not yet taking responsibility. His parents may be reflecting back to him that he doesn't have what it takes.
Is this I sense a danger of like the thing I dislike about positive affirmations, in the sense of like you act as if something is true and deep in your heart you don't really believe it. Is this something that you really believe it, or is there also a practice in seeing more of this in people?
Well, his peers and his parents and others may be seeing how he's not that man. Just by looking to see how he is, seeing his strengths, seeing the courage that you can see in him, reflecting this back to him, you know, just seeing that in him, speaking that
seeing
to
his
him.
greatness. Would you say that every man has that? And then by that I mean, then also, can you be an elder in this sense for everyone?
Yeah, looking for what they're facing and what they're standing for. You know, it really can be as simple as that, you know, to acknowledge a young man, get into his world, acknowledge what he's facing, be there with him. There was a young man back in 2007, his mother had attended my boot camp, my training in honor, and she asked, she was really pleading with me, you know, Michael, will you speak to my son, you know, will you, and it had a quality of something's wrong with him, and you need to set him straight, or you need to help him. And I told him, I told her, I'll meet with your son, but I'm not going to fix your son, you know. And I invited him to come and join me on cliffs overlooking Lake Austin and a big part of the valley. And I didn't show up to correct this kid or set him straight or tell him what he needs to do. I sat up there on the cliff and we looked out there over the valley, and I listened what he's facing in life. We both looked at it together, and I was like, fuck yeah, that's fucked up, you know.
So show confidence and faith in the young man, not assuming he doesn't have what it takes. It's much less seeing his greatness than it is to honor him, seeing with him what he's been facing, seeing with him what he's been standing for, and reflecting that back to him. So it's much less seeing the greatness as it is to honor him, which you can do with everyone.
Yeah, and this was a kid who his mother was afraid could be very destructive, self-destructive or destructive. You know, might have fit into the category of, could this kid become a school shooter? You know, like he was a very troubled kid. They'd come over from the Middle East, and this was a time when there was a lot of kind of anti-Arab sentiment in the U.S. after 9/11 and with the Iraq War going on. And he'd come over to a high school here, and he's trying to make it in high school, and his dad, I think, didn't have a job here, hadn't found success here, and so he just didn't have a firm foundation, and he didn't have, there was a lot he was missing, and he was really struggling. And he was lashing out saying, you know, and he actually did make some comments like, I just want to take a gun and, you know, kill a bunch of people, you know, which is a statement that could, you know, well, that's a pretty dark statement. And Hans, one of your areas that you sometimes don't like to go into is the, you know, the darkness or the whatever. And a lot of us, and I think this is kind of standard for American culture, actually. Keep things positive, keep things happy, just affirm positive things, be high vibration, this kind of stuff. What these young people need is someone who will actually go and sit with them in their pain, in the darkness. And I just, you know, when I could see his world, I affirmed to him that nothing's wrong with you, you know, nothing's wrong with you. And it was very different from the message he was getting in the world.
Nice. So just to be an ancestor worth coming from, honor thy elders. Show confidence and faith in the young man. That's 3. You got a next one. 4.
Let me go back to the previous one just momentarily. There's this assumption that we have in Western culture, which is largely about dominating. You know, we dominate nature to overcome it. We dominate our weaknesses to overcome them. But like a Native American culture, a lot of indigenous cultures, they don't have this same relationship to themselves, others, and reality or nature.
Yes, when you're connected.
You know, there's not a sense in a lot of indigenous communities that you are a born sinner, you know, original sin, which is a Catholic idea, that there's something wrong with you. You know, there's not a sense that you're fundamentally not there. There's a sense that you're perfect. You know, like a baby buffalo, without going to school, is going to grow up and be a perfect adult buffalo. You know, like we have what it takes, but in this world, there's very much a sense that we don't, and we need to dominate our children. We need to educate. We need to indoctrinate. We need to train, punish, and reward. And so it really helps, I guess, to be an elder to, and this could take some education and inquiry to explore and find out, you know, how we do have what it takes to thrive here on this planet with ease, and then affirm this back, you know, to the younger ones.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. You're good enough.
A great book, by the way, is The Continuum Concept. The Continuum Concept. Again, maybe a conversation for another day. Actually, let me share one more story about this last point. I think it's a really big point. And I've got a nephew whose mother doesn't feel like he's yet ready to leave home, and he's like 22 now. He just had a birthday, might have just turned 23, and she feels like she needs to teach him more about managing his money. She needs to prepare him in this way and that way and this way and that way before she's comfortable letting him go, you know. And you know, and me and my brothers, his uncles, we're really affirming that he has what it takes. His father and us, his uncles, we all left home in our teens and set out in the world. Anyway, there's this story I can tell it another time, but I went on a camping trip with my father out in Arizona. I went to visit him.
The story you're going to tell another time?
I'll tell in detail another time. We'll come back to it. We'll bookmark it. But I was about 24.
I see 10 episodes.
Yeah.
10 mornings talking about each one of these.
Yes. Okay. I'll leave it for another episode.
Nice. Come back tomorrow or in 4 days.
All right.
4th.
Yes. So, confront him. You know, have what I might call an ally conversation with him. From love. You know, speak truth to him. There's a story I've told a number of times about my buddy O coming into my office and having a face-to-face with me, and he's confronting me about what do I really want for myself. You know, he was concerned that I might be wrapped up in some huge vision and projects and mission for humanity and everybody else, but what about me?
Tough love is what they use, no? Or is it different than this?
I don't know that I would call that tough love. It's it might have been tough for him to come and confront me, you know, because it's having the conversation that many friends would not have with their friend, because many friends just want to keep their friend comfortable.
Right.
And
which, okay, maybe it's not in one of these points, but and we could talk about it another time, but there's a great danger that I see that a lot of criticism, advice, or trying to force someone into doing what you want them to do is justified as this, doing it for your own good. You know, so maybe a great point would be to be an elder for someone is to actually really care. You can feel it. I don't know if you listed this, but you can feel it in your heart that you really care for this person.
100%. It's I don't have it listed here specifically, but what you want to aim for is, you know, what's going to have anyone really trust you is that they feel that you really hold them in your heart, that you really, them and their concerns and their people, like that you're present to what they're facing and what they're standing for, and they have a sense that you stand for them. You will stand for them, and you have, and they can trust you in that. And at an extreme level of this, people will even grant you the authority to speak for them and to represent them, because they might even trust even more that you're facing what they should be facing about their reality, and you're willing to stand for them even more than they might be standing for themselves.
Right. That's a good point. You care. What did you say? A great phrase. I forgot it. That was point 11. I'm going to add.
Yes.
So 4 was confront them with love for their best interest and stay. 5.
Stay meaning, let's say something about that, because you could go confront this nephew, this kid in the neighborhood or whatever, and then
I'm out of here.
Leave. Like, not continue to be in conversation with him, or put up the walls, cut him out of your life in a way. So it's by far, it's not just about the confrontation or yes, it's the staying. It's huge. It's huge. So next point, calling him to responsibility to be a man, calling him to a role of honor for his people. So we talked a couple of days ago, I grew up Mormon, and the Mormon church is kind of built around this. So when you're a young man at the age of 19, and assuming you've been living what is a righteous life according to Mormons, you're going to receive a calling from the prophet to go on a mission, to go and serve a 2-year mission. And there's so many young people today just trying to find, okay, well, what should I do with my life? What's going to make me happy? How do I want my life to be? And they're missing a fundamental component of any healthy, enduring culture, which is you have elders who are calling you to responsibility, and not the kind of responsibility like just with judgment, like you should be more responsible, you should be obeying the law, you should be getting good grades, whatever. No, calling you to a mission, to a role beyond what society is giving you, beyond what your success and happiness requires. Calling you to serve, calling you to be an elder, essentially.
You to be an elder.
Yes. Calling you to a mission. So, in the Mormon church,
it's a great pyramid scheme, How to be an elder, call others to be an elder.
Yeah, and what it spreads is honor and elderhood.
Yes.
It's beautiful. But throughout your life as a Mormon, you get different callings in the church. It's something quite different from a lot of other religions. But any faithful church-going Mormon is going to have, at any one point in their life, they're going to be a scout leader. They're going to be a teacher of this. They're going to be they have some kind of, in a way, elder responsibility, right? To take responsibility for other people in the congregation and provide a certain role of you could say, eldership.
Nice.
Yes. So call him to responsibility. Give him a calling. All right, the next point. Invite the young man to
6.
Invite the young man to adventure with you. So, as I've gone home to visit my family in the States over the last few years, I have spoken to my nephews of coming to Africa with me. And
how old are they?
Oh, from 10 to 20.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's something that scares their parents, Oh, And their parents like the idea as well, but I would say call young people to an adventure that does scare their parents. And here's where I think being an elder really goes beyond parenting, because the parent is trying to keep their child safe. And a lot of times the parent is trying to keep themselves comfortable.
Okay, yeah.
So like they may not be doing what's in the best interest of their child's growth and long-term happiness and thriving or becoming an adult, because the parent wants to be comfortable.
Well, okay, that could be called bad parenting. You could say it's more than being a parent, or it's more than doing what most parents do.
Well, I think there's just a natural greater concern you have for your child if you've invested all of this in the child to keep them safe all these years, and then he's going to go do one stupid thing and die. You know, like I think it's just a natural thing that the parent has a lower level of willingness to just throw their kid out into the wilderness and see
That
if
doesn't
he
make it
survives.
right. That doesn't make it right. But yes, that does create an opportunity for eldership.
Yeah,
Be that when
yes.
they have it harder to be that.
Yeah, and I want to push back a bit on this sense of I think in modern Western culture we put so much responsibility and blame on the parents, and there's less like what about the elders?
Yes.
What about the
Yes.
uncles? What about the
Yes.
the other people in the community? Because parents can't do it all. They cannot provide. Even let's say I hear from so many young men that they didn't get the father they wanted. You know, their father is fucked up in this way, that way, the other way. He wasn't around, and now they're fucked up. Well, I think a more ideal upbringing for a child is they have many adults in their world
Yes.
that deeply give a fuck about them, that they respect, and they could emulate or want to be like. You may want to be nothing like your father. So what? Don't blame your father. Go find. This is speaking from the younger person's point of view. Go find an adult who you respect, who really gives a fuck about you, who you'd want to be like, and go hang out with them. Go make them your elder. Let them gift you. Let them mentor you.
That's a
But
great
on the-
next step.
Yeah, but on the flip side, as an adult, this is about acknowledging a great role for an elder, and go be the one that their mother or father can't be. for them.
Cannot be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's 6. Invite a young man to an adventure with you.
Yes.
But also 7.
Encourage his own adventure beyond his parents' world.
Uh-huh.
You know, encourage him to venture out beyond the pale. Beyond the village, beyond the country, beyond civilization, whatever the beyond is. Tempt him, seduce him out
Incite
into
him.
the unknown. If he's sharing dreams that make his parents afraid, encourage him.
Yes.
Encourage him to follow that instinct to adventure. And
I'm just thinking of Anthony.
yeah, over the past few years, there have been a number of young men that Hans and I have encouraged. And Anthony is a young guy from California who, after a few calls from us, and he was the one editing our podcast a few years ago, so he was listening to all our episodes. He left home, he left university, left California, even left the U.S. to go travel, has now started his own business, and he's completely making a man out of himself.
He found love here in Colombia.
Yeah, by listening to his own spirit, his own inner guidance, and learning to trust it. And
What a great man.
there is danger involved. But how the fuck do you become an adult without confronting the dangerous world out there.
You finally pushed away all your ex-family Mormons by cursing.
What?
You finally pushed away all the Mormons you lived with by cursing. They were listening very attentively. Now they're saying he's on the wrong
Ah, you're talking
path.
about Mormons who,
He's like, fuck.
family of mine who may be watching.
Yes.
Yeah.
7. Encourage his own adventure beyond his parents.
We just talked about that.
Yes. 8.
I don't have faith or confidence that you have the numbers right here, but teach him life skills.
I'll repeat them all.
Teach him life skills and man skills, especially beyond what his parents may be comfortable with. When I was about the ages 12 to 14, I would go out for the summer, 12 to 15 maybe. My parents were going through rough times and a divorce. And my dad, he never taught us anything about mechanics, nothing about raising animals on the farm, nothing about hunting, things that my kind of cowboy farmer uncles and grandfathers, this was natural to them in the country, you know. And they kind of viewed me as a city slicker. And, you know, thank God my parents encouraged me going out to stay with my relatives, you know, my kind of wild redneck relatives. And, again, stories to go into deeper for another time, but my grandfather in particular did all kinds of crazy, you could say dangerous or inappropriate things with me. That sounds strange.
Let me teach you a couple of things, little Michael.
You know, like waking me up early one Saturday morning and calling me out to separate the baby sheep from the mama sheep as they're crying, and making me grab the mama sheep or the baby sheep and hold them down as he castrates them with a knife and his teeth, you know, and then sears with the hot iron, sears the wound opening closed. Yeah, things that my dad never could have done,
Yes.
might not have done, and were a great inviting me into the discomfort of manhood. And it gave me real skills, you know. And it had me, like, I admired my grandfather for the things that he had the courage to do and he was willing to do and he didn't give a fuck about.
Yes.
So, yeah, this comes back to, I hear a lot of people complain today, like Americans complain, and females as well. Oh, my dad didn't teach me this about, you know, changing a tire or changing the oil on a car or whatever. And we make so much judgment about our parents as if
they have to be perfect, as if they have to know everything, and they can't.
Or do everything for us. Yeah.
And this is a great opportunity it's more a community-based feel, you know. There's certain limits to it, what they can do. And then if you have elders to do that, it's a great addition.
Yeah, and there's very much a component, we've kind of mentioned it a few times here, Hans, that, and maybe you could say this as another point, it's, be willing to be the bad uncle, you know? Be willing to, if you can see that this young man needs to confront something, or to learn something that his parents, his teachers, his authorities feel is not appropriate, not right, not correct, not what an upstanding citizen would do or think about, or a good religious person would do or think about, then it's on you to take him under your wing and help prepare him for the real world, help prepare him for adulthood, help prepare him for taking on that responsibility. And, you know, I've got for example, speaking of being an uncle, not all my sisters might approve of what me and my brothers would talk to their sons about, and the adventures that we would take them on.
Yes.
And I don't view their sons as theirs. They're not their property, you know. And I have a responsibility there with their sons, who are my nephews.
Yes.
So I would say, owning, you know, you don't have to have permission for this. You can say, I'm going to be an uncle for this young man. Even if you're not his biological uncle, or you are. Like, go ahead.
No, that ties in a couple of the previous points there on how to be that. But the new point is that you don't need permission for this. That's not one of the 10 points, but that's an interesting consideration.
Well, I would say it is. Be willing to, like, do it anyway, you know, and be willing to even confront the other authority figures if need be. To stand up for, you know, if you really feel like you're standing up for the young man. It's reminded me of a great movie, Scent of a Woman. Did you see this?
Yes.
Al Pacino's character, he's blind. He's an ex-military soldier and vet, and he's a man's man. He's a wild man. He's inappropriate all the way around, and he's about to take his own life and commit suicide. And he actually finds meaning and purpose in being an elder. And the young man finds, you know, his life is changed by having this elder walk into his school and confront the other authorities, like in the face of everything. Wow, this is a beautiful movie for this one point. Be that Al Pacino character, walk into that fucking school and confront, you know, the other authorities.
Nice. I see one more, although we're at the count of 9, but I could add 1 or 2. So the last point, 9, is?
The last point.
Here.
Yeah, be willing to take them in, to welcome them in if their parents drop the ball. So I literally took in my youngest brother when he was 16, 17. You know, and I encouraged him to drop out of school, to come and move across the country and live with me, and I would teach him what he needed to know to be a man. And I affirmed that he had what it took, and that high school dropout who left home at that age has now made many tens of millions of dollars, has employed countless people, has, you know, probably saved people's lives with the work he's done and the charity he's done, raising 2 beautiful daughters. Like, he's an incredible man. And so, and I feel a lot of honor in that. He's done all the work to be the man that he is, but I didn't have to do that. You know, I didn't have to take that role on.
Nice.
But there's great honor in it. And yeah, be willing to
take him in also.
When his parents or other authorities drop the ball, yeah, be willing to provide that welcome.
Nice. Let me recapitulate. Recap. We got 9, but maybe you can add 1. 1 was be an ancestor worth coming from. 2, honor thy elders. 3, show confidence and faith in the young man. 4, confront him with love. 5, call him to responsibility. 6, invite the young man to an adventure with you. 7, encourage his own adventure beyond his parents. 8, teach him life skills that the parents would not. And 9, be willing to take him in. We talked also about...
Yeah, you're leaving at least 1 out that were not bullet points on my notes beforehand. And 1 was, the Al Pacino character. Be Al Pacino. There you go.
Be Al Pacino.
You know, you don't have to have the permission of the boy's authorities, the young man's authorities, to come in and make him a man.
Yes.
And to confront those other authorities. You could even make that 2 separate points, you know. We could really develop this out, and I think this would be great work for us to do, Hans.
This is what we're going to do in the next broadcast.
gamifying becoming an elder.
Yes.
You know, it's a great heroic
Stage
undertaking, the kind that could save humanity.
Yes.
You know, how many kids are killing themselves, shooting up schools, become addicted to drugs because they're lacking the deep, abiding love, mentorship, belonging, honor, brotherhood, elderhood that could come from simply having elders.
Yes.
Simply having men who are going to show up and be that man.
So if you feel that, if you're thinking of a man or a boy that you could be an elder for right now, in the next couple of days we'll go deeper into each one of these points, on how that looks, on how you can practice it. We also have a training coming up where I won't say much about it, but here in Colombia, beginning of October. If you want to know more and want to practice.
Yeah, there's really, you could say, a martial art to leadership. And there are different skills that you can pick up for leadership. But there's a training that we're going to do here that is very practical, that is steeped in honor, that can have you feel the call to take on more responsibility and be that leader for your people. And there's actually 2 trainings happening. The first one is about being a warrior for your people. And the second one is about being an elder for your people. And it's really profound work that has changed people's lives. And if you feel the call, if you're interested, you know, if you're hunger for this, what we've been talking about, reach out.
See you tomorrow.
I see Joy watching. I see Clint watching. Hey guys, good to see you. Frank was watching on my channel anyway, earlier. And
oh, you got so many on your channel watching.
Yeah, you know, Joy and Clint, these are actually 2 people I feel the call to be an elder for, actually, you know. And I've taken on that mantle. Not as if they've even asked necessarily, you know.
Or even wanted.
Yeah. And there's Frank. Frank's watching too. Yeah.
Hey Frank.
You know, put my arm around him and yeah, provide that belonging and that faith in them. Clint has recently just made a heroic victory, climbing from depths. He's had a great victory. Clint, I see you, brother. You've come back, man. You fought your way back from some darkness to some major victory. I'm very proud of you, man.
It's great.
And
hey, Clint.
yeah, Joy has been through a lot recently. Deeply moved by her heart, yes, and want to see her thriving. All right, guys.
See you tomorrow.
Next time.